In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the difference between Jason Day's pitching method and Tiger Woods. Both fantastic pitches of the ball, but with one very subtle difference that I'm going to share with you. Make sure you check this video out. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Branston Golf and Country Club. As mentioned in the intro, this video is about pitching. So I am close to the edge of the green. I've got here around a 20-yard pitch shot, and what I'm going to be talking about is two methods. One that I see players like Jason Day, Steve Stricker tend to use, and one that I see Tiger Woods and a number of other tour players using. Now, there's no wrong or right, but I'm going to share with you the differences, and they may be subtle if you haven't really looked at it before, but the differences between their pitching methods, and I'm going to encourage you to actually try both. But for me, there is a little difference in when I would play each. So there's certain times I would play Tiger's method, certain times I'd play Jason Day's method, and I want to share with you those ones to really improve your short game around the green. So what we see, I'm going to delve straight into it with Jason Day and Steve Stricker and players similar to that, is we tend to see a very wide pitching method. When they're closest to the green, I would say within 40 odd yards, we don't tend to see a lot of wrist cock. So it tends to be a real body rotation, and the arms and the club are almost a straight line. Now, I'm not suggesting there isn't any wrist action. It is not locked here, but there is a lot less than you're going to see in the Tiger Wood method. So we're actually going for a much wider movement here, almost creating a very long, low flat zone. And I have filmed a couple of videos around this before, talking about this wider pitching method that can be a really reliable shot. I would suggest it's a great shot for anyone newer into the game, anyone struggling with their pitching, to be a little bit more reliable, is just creating this wide body turn, take the wrists out of it. Now, what it does need is a relatively long swing for a short distance, because there is less hand speed, wrist cock, or down cock of the wrists on the downswing. It's much more of a body rotation, wider movement through the golf ball, but it's very, very reliable. So let me delve into hitting one doing this. So this is the Jason Day method. I also see it with Steve Stricker, obviously fantastic pitches of the golf ball. And what we're going to do, I'm not going to discuss setup too much, but I like the ball to be middle or just a little bit forwards of centre. And for both pitching methods, we are starting with a little bit more pressure onto our lead foot, around 65%. Not as much as I would when I'm hitting a chip and run, a bump and run, but definitely still favouring that side. Now, for this method, we need the handle to be very level. We do not want any hands forwards, as that's de-lofting the golf club, creating some shaft lean and lowering the bounce. So we start with the pressure left, but hands very neutral. And what I'm going to be trying to feel is a very wide swing with no real wrists. So let's see if I can pull this one off. This is the Jason Day wider pitching method. And I've hit a nice shot there up to around 4 or 5 feet. Nice wide movement. A very shallow, I've just sort of brushed the grass. So with this method, we'll tend to see very shallow divots. I wouldn't expect to see much of a scrape of the turf. So it works very, very well when the ball is sitting up or on lush grass or the lie's half decent. It's a very reliable pitching method. What it does rely on is, as I said, a relatively long swing. We've got to make sure that we commit to a good follow-through length, the follow-through being a little bit longer than the backswing here. So it's very wide. The speed is controlled by the big muscles, by the chest. Now, the difference, in my opinion, when you look at someone more like Woods, is he tends to play this with an earlier wrist set in his backswing. So he's actually allowing his wrist to cock up while maintaining loft on the golf club. So he's feeling a much earlier wrist cock here. Whereas Jason Day and Steve Stricker are very wide and a very delayed or very little wrist cock. Whereas Tiger, he'll almost set his wrist straight away in the backswing here. Now, there's some benefits and there's some downsides to that. One, the downside is there's more moving parts. If we cock our wrists up, we've got to uncock our wrists down. We can affect the flight and therefore the distance the ball goes. So for a newer golfer, beginner golfer, someone struggling with their pitching, they may struggle more controlling the ball from this method. The plus sides to it is we can actually create a little bit more speed, so there's a little bit more spin applied, and we can actually vary the trajectory. So if we're a good golfer and we want to hit the lower one, the higher one, like Woods does, he can actually have the wrist cock here and hold it a little bit more to hit the lower one, or the wrist cock here and actually feel like he then throws or down cocks his wrist to hit the higher one, and you'll see a very different position and where the club finishes on the way through. Whereas Jason Day's method from close range, it'll tend to look quite consistent, a wider movement through the ball. The other benefit of this earlier wrist cock Tiger Woods method is it's a little bit better to get that club to dig if we need to. So if the ball was sat down in longer grass or a barer lie, by having a little bit more wrist cock here, we can feel like we hold a little bit more of that angle to allow the club to dig. I'm going to just try and show you with Tiger's method, that earlier wrist cock, the two shots. So I think when you look at Woods, he gets this early wrist cock and he'll either hit the low one here, or he'll allow that club, almost feel like he's timing that throwing movement and that body rising. So what you cannot get away with if you create this wrist cock is staying down. You really have to feel that your lead side is moving up. I call it rotate and rise. So we want this lead shoulder moving up and to the left when we're trying to hit the higher one from there. So I'm going to try the Tiger Woods backswing. And I'm going to hit one low one and one high one. So let's hit the low one first of all. So it's the wrist cock, and I'm going to feel like I hold the angle a little bit more to drive that ball in. So it landed more on the front of the green and it released out there, and it's just gone a little bit further away than the wider method because it had that little bit more run and release. Obviously to a back flag, that would work very well. And that created a little bit more of a divot, so it's a little bit more of a downward blow as you would expect. So that ball, that would work really well when, again, a poorer lie. So the other one there with Tiger's method is this early wrist cock, but the feeling of my body rotating and rising, obviously timing that with allowing my wrist to uncock. So there is more to go wrong with this method, but it means if we're an elite level golfer, really practicing hard at this, we can vary our trajectory a little bit more. We can create some more speed, some more spin. So let me try and wipe some of this grass off the club face so I can create some of that spin. A little bit more tricky, obviously, in the winter time here with this wet grass, wet golf balls. I'm done with my excuses, by the way. Early wrist cock, and it's a little bit more timing to hit the higher one from here. Although I'm very happy with that, apart from the fact it landed about a yard short of where I wanted. You can see how quickly that ball dug its heels in there, stopped. It landed a foot from the green, just on the fringe grass here, which may have helped it stop there, but that really had a lot of spin on it. It's only rolled out there a couple of feet from landing. But what I had to do there was feel my wrist cock up and almost uncock on the downswing, down-cocking our wrist. So it takes a little bit more timing with this method, but it means we can vary the trajectory a little bit more. As a recap, if the lie is good enough, if the lie is quite decent, I would suggest that a very easy method is this wider swing controlled with the chest movement, more the Jason Day. And really it's starting to utilize the loft, the bounce is a lot more consistent, scraping of the turf. If we want to be able to vary our trajectory to hit higher, lower, get the ball to spin or get the ball to release, or we've got a bad lie, that's where the Tiger Woods method with the earlier wrist cock can help us. Practice both, see where you benefit. If you're getting good at this, I'd like you to be able to vary it depending on the situation and what's facing you. Hope that video's answered a few questions and really helped you. Love to hear your feedback from it. Put some comments below. Great to hear from what videos you'd like me to film as well, anything that you're struggling with. And please make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel so you never miss a video again. Cheers guys, we'll see you soon.